My name is Xiaodong from National University of Singapore. So this work on motif-based graph analytics is finished when I studied in the University of Hong Kong, supervised by Professor Reynold and collaborated with Professor Chang from UNC, as well as other fellows. So first, I'd like to introduce the background of high-order graph. So this kind of graph is using the building block as a pattern graph rather than the edges in the original graph. So these pattern graphs, usually called motif, is composed of 3 to 5 nodes. And this pattern graph are considered significant in the original graph. For example, in the human brain network, the click and cycles are considered motif because the click is proven to process the signals in human brain and the cycles can help the human brain to pass the information. And in protein-protein interaction network, the functional units may not form a single protein, but from some combination of different proteins. So this is why the user may think the subgraph may be more important than a single edge. And this is this leads to the study of different HO graph properties like diameter, kinetic components, degree, authority, conductance. So these are all with the motif versions from the original graph. And there are pros and cons, like this HO graph is structural meaningful, and hence it can give us better results in many cases. But because we need to enumerate combinatorial motif instance in the process, and it makes the algorithm can have much higher complexity. So to name a few, the authors study the motif conductance and use it for graph clustering, and they have better results in many datasets. And authors also find that when they employ the motif in the eigenvector-based graph visualization algorithms, then much clearer visualization results can be obtained. And similarly, when the motifs are employed in the random walk and PageRank process, then higher effectiveness can be obtained for like a network embedding and node ranking. So I summarize the graph properties for the 3 applications like node ranking, link prediction, and clustering. So for the HO graph, I mark the graph properties already studied as red, like the degree and authority already studied in AAAI 2018. And I also found there are some like graph properties never touched in HO graph. And these graph properties come from a very big branch of graph mining area. So this one is actually the shortest path, like centrality, shortest path distance, cost index, and clearest neighbor. They all based on shortest path. And there is no one study this kind of properties in the HO graph with motifs. So in this paper, we want to study whether this graph properties can help us to obtain better graph mining results. And first, we need to introduce the concept of motif-paths. So given source node and target node, and also a motif, we want to find the shortest sequence of motif instance, which can help us to connect the source node and target node. Like in this case, given V1 and V10, then the motif-path is a sequence of triangles which can connect the 2 nodes. There is one connected concept in the literature named triangle connectivity. So this one is used to detect the community, like given 2 nodes, then they want to find the subgraph which composed of triangles, and the neighboring triangles should share one edge. And like here, then V1 and V10, they are triangle connected. But there are 2 main differences. The first one is the triangle connectivity cannot be used to discover a path or path length or use it in the graph mining area. And second, this concept cannot be extended to other motifs or other applications. It is only fixed for community search and using the triangle. And then we need to discuss the data structure for high-order graph. So in the most related work, they use multiple adjacency matrix. Like the element means the number of motif instances that cover the corresponding nodes. Like here, nodes 1, 3 is only in one triangle, then in the triangle-based motif-adjacency matrix, the corresponding number is 1. But this structure cannot be directly used in our motif-paths searching algorithm because of two reasons. The first one is motif-adjacency matrix is impossible to be materialized for large graph, like graph with many nodes. And the second is motif-adjacency matrix cannot tell us some information, like the number of motif instance, the number of motif-paths between two nodes. So, and this kind of number is very important for graph mining tasks like link prediction. So we need to go back to the very beginning definition of initial graph. So like each node is motif instance, and if two motif instances share one node, then there is one edge in the initial graph. So like this example. And this kind of definition, this structure makes the calculation of motif-paths more complex because we need to enumerate more motif instances in the process. But likely we do not need to fully materialize the whole initial graph, but only the part that we need in the process. And because the user may need to switch the motif to detect the best one which can obtain the highest effectiveness. So we develop an advanced diff structure. This one can help us to index the motif instance in the motifs in the path searching process. We can see the calculation by sharing the intermediate results. And because of such kind of caching, the whole calculation process can be sped up. And another challenge is called fragmentation. So it means the high order graph can be fragmented to a large number of connected components and isolated nodes. And many researchers already point out that it can largely affect the performance of the graph mining in the high order graph. And there are mainly two approaches to deal with the fragmentation. One is to mix the original adjacency matrix, and another is to inject part of original edges into the high order graph. So, for example, in this dataset, the original graph only have one connected components, like the red triangle. But when we calculate the actual graph, then you can find millions of the motif components, and most of them are very small, like only smaller than 10 nodes. And in this example, you can see there are two motif components because one motif component is the left part and another one is the right part. And our solution is straightforward but effective. So the name is bridging edge. We only select the edges that cross different motif components and inject them into the high order graph. So like in this example, the bridging edge is 4, 6. So we inject it here, then the whole the two motif components will become connected. So we evaluate this method in the experiments and show that this bridging edge defragmentation can give us better results. Like the green curve can be improved from the blue curve because blue curve is the motif-path based version, but because of defragmentation, this one may not be better than the original algorithm. And then with the bridging edge defragmentation, we can just improve the results from the blue to green. So this is quite amazing. And after the evaluation, we have the following three conclusions. The first one is the motif-paths can serve a good tool to analyze the actual graph fragmentation. And the second one is motif-paths can be more meaningful in different graph mining tasks. So we already show one example in the last slide. So in the following three applications, we also show the cases that motif-paths obtain better results. And this like a small b, it means the version with bridging edge defragmentation. And finally, we see that motif-paths can serve as a good indicator for motif-aware graph analysis. Because in many cases, one motif is very frequent in the dataset, but it may not help us to obtain good results. And motif-paths can help us to explain the reason rather than only use frequency.